Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Big Sister Chats. While you and me are internet siblings, I really want to encourage you to be your own best friend. So that's what we'll talk about in this episode. As always, get comfortable, sit, lay, cook, clean, do whatever you want while watching this episode or just listening to me. Just before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. Let me start with why it's so important that you are your own best friend. And the reason is quite simple. You spend the most time with you. Like, you might have a best friend, you might have a partner, you might live with your parents and your siblings and have your coworkers, and sometimes it feels like you see them so often, like 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day, whatever. But actually, you are the only person that you spend 24 hours a day with. And that's great. That can be so great. But only if you are your own best friend and biggest supporter. But a lot of us talk bad about themselves or even with themselves. And that's called negative self-talk. Let's say I miss my alarm in the morning and I sleep in, and now there's no time for me to go to the gym anymore. Now I could think, oh, you're such a failure, and why do you do this? And you keep sleeping in, and you said you would stick to your habits, and you will be so unfit, and you're lazy, and so on and so on. That's negative self-talk, and that's not what we want. That is this really nice exercise that I try to do once a day, and I don't know how it's called, but I call it, would you say this to your best friend? And alone that, most of the time, no. Let's say I have a sleepover with my best friend and she tells me, oh, she wants to stand up at 6 to work out. And then in the morning at 8, I wake her up and say, hey, didn't you want to go to the gym? And then she might talk herself down and say all of these things that I just said. And what I, as a good best friend, would say, it's no problem. You can miss a day. Maybe your body needed the sleep. Don't beat yourself up over one morning. Do you think you can do it later? No? Okay, then just start again tomorrow. Just try again. It doesn't matter, just because you missed one day. Don't ruin your day just because you slept for 2 hours longer than you intended to. And that's also the way I should be talking to myself, and you should be talking to yourself. So whenever I catch myself saying negative things to or about myself, I stop for a second and I think, if I was talking to my best friend now, would I tell her the same thing? And the truth is, most of the times, no. I still go about my day, and if I see, okay, I've skipped the gym 5 times this week, then I'll sit down and I think, okay, something's not working. What is it? Why is that? And I want to point you to a video I did last week where I talked about failures and how you talk to yourself too, just in another context. So that would also be really interesting for you to check out once you finish this video. As always, the most important videos and links you can find in the description. But back to topic. Last week, I called my friend and I said, hey, somehow I skipped the gym so often this week and I feel really bad about it. And I talk myself down, and somehow I cannot stop myself because I did it so many times. And then she said, okay, but do you realize all the things you are doing? It's no wonder that one of these things just has to give. And then I sat there and I was like, okay, maybe she's right. I really didn't want to hear it. And she said, if working out is a priority to you, then make it a priority. If it's not, if you have too many other things, stop beating yourself up about it. And that was probably something I needed to hear. And sometimes you also need to hear it. But in the end, it just helped me once again to come back to more positive self-talk. Because while I'm not being unrealistic and telling myself, oh, I'm so great, even though I am not at that particular part of my life, I can still be real, and I do not need to beat myself up for missing out or being lazy or whatever I said before, because how you talk to yourself is so important. How I do it, there's two ways. So let's say I'm in a rush, something happens, I talk down to myself. I take the time and I think a positive thought instead, and how I would change it up so it's not that negative anymore. And if I have more time, let's say at the end of the day, I sit down and I journal and I think about my day and I think, oh, but when I looked in the mirror today, I did think some bad thoughts about me. Then I could either journal about them, or I have this app called Finch. And this is not sponsored, sadly, but I really recommend that app. It's free anyways. And it's so cute. It's a little penguin thing that you take care of. And I have a daily goal where I identify one negative thought and use a CPT worksheet to work through it, I guess. And it basically just asks me that question. It asks me, what did you think about? How did that make you feel? Would you say this to a best friend? What would you say to your best friend instead? How did the voice change when you directed it at your best friend versus at yourself? And then a promise to not talk to yourself like that again. And it's really cute, and it has all these like little goals that you can implement, whether it's hydrate or walk or stretch, take 3 deep breaths is also something in my Finch app. So I really recommend you download the app and give it a try. In the app, I can also journal 3 affirmations for each day. I do that either in Finch directly or in my journal, and I feel like that's also really important. Affirmations and gratitude and all of that in general are so important, and I have spoken about them in many other videos before, so go check them out. In my notes, there's something really important written down that I want you to understand, so I'll read it to you. It's trust in yourself even when you feel lost. Trust that you'll make the right decision. And that is so important, the trust in yourself and also practicing that trust. And that will include decision making, even if we hate it, but we just have to try, even if it's small things like choosing between pizza and pasta for lunch. It's just decision making, and then learning to trust in your gut and in your heart and in your brain, and realizing that you can trust yourself to make the right decision. It's all exercise. And when you already spend so much time with yourself, I really want to emphasize the importance of self-care and the time you spend with yourself in general. This could be anything from skincare to journaling to solo dates. Like, I have this whole video about feeling lonely and what you can do about that. Just doing things that you really love and that make you feel good about yourself. And maybe it takes some time to figure that out. Maybe you really like taking 10 minutes of your day for skincare with relaxing music. Maybe you like meditation, you like painting. You have that one personal project that gets you so excited, and make time for it. Like, this time you spend with yourself is so crucial. And again, I can only tell you that I love journaling, like taking myself out, walking to a coffee shop and sitting down with my journal and just either brain dumping or having one of these great prompts you find all over Pinterest and all these other apps. It feels so good, and it just feels like me getting to know me. And that might be something for you too, or it might not. Maybe you like to draw instead, and that gives you the mind space to think. And that's great. This is how you practice self-love and loving yourself without needing external validation. A small thing you could implement would be a list of gratitude, like 3 things you're grateful for each morning. You can do that even in your notes app while you're brushing your teeth in the morning, and just jot down 3 things that you're grateful for that day, maybe even about yourself. And that might be something internal, something external, just something you value that day. Maybe your hair looks great one morning. Maybe you realize what a kind soul you are. Even watching this video is something so great and powerful, and something you can be grateful for, like taking the time to actually grow. This is so great, and something you can be proud of and you can be grateful for. And if you want to take this a step further, I recently discovered a method that helped me a whole lot. And I call it the mirror exercise. I'm sure there's some actual professional name for this, and I don't know it. If you know it, let me know in the comments down below. But I just call it that. So whenever I feel like it, I don't do this every day. I sit in front of my mirror and I have some sticky notes taped to the side of my mirror. I'll take one sticky note and then I'll look at myself for a few minutes and write down whatever comes to mind. And the great thing about this is, these are your words. When you go back to these sticky notes, they are your words. They're kind of affirmations, but also you telling yourself, like, I have the kindest heart. I am so good to people. I can confidently say that I try my best every day, and I know I'm not perfect, but I'm working on it. And later, when you have a hard day, you can read them again. And I remember when I did that for the first time, I had like 10-ish sticky notes before reviewing them after 2 weeks. And just reading them, I forgot what I had written. And it was so nice, like hearing myself talk about me like that in such a positive way. And it's amazing. And I stick these sticky notes to my journal at first, but now I keep them inside a little box that I call a mental health box for hard days. And that is my last tip for today. Keep a small box for the hard days. In there could be the sticky notes, a bag of tea, some fidget items, if it fits your journal, and a pen, maybe a list of gratitude, maybe a list of grounding techniques that work for you, just so you can, in a moment where everything feels too much already, the last thing you want to do is like take care of yourself sometimes. Like you just want to fall into that pit, and instead of doing that, you can take out that list, and it makes it so much easier to get back to yourself. And you know what works for you. Maybe meditation doesn't work because your mind seems to wander and you just get frustrated that it doesn't work. But the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method does work, and that's great. So you can include that in your grounding techniques. There's also something called a list of resources, which might be hot tea or a warm blanket, or even an image of a person that's a safe place for you. And if you're not sure about your resources yet, you can, for example, take a look at Pinterest. I really like the app for that. Just getting some ideas on what could work, but also giving it a thought and then thinking, okay, but that doesn't work for me because X, Y, and Z. And that maybe I didn't know, but I would like to try that and see if it's a resource for me to calm down and to get back to myself and to start loving myself again and get through hard times and hard days. Another keyword that might be interesting for you to look at is self-soothing. And if you're not sure, you can always look for positive self-talk, either on Pinterest or just in the web. You'll see just by consuming more media that's tailored to how you want to think, you will one by one get better at it. And while the concept at first might be foreign and it might be even weird to talk to yourself in those kinds of ways, you'll see sooner than later it will be completely normal, and you'll still catch yourself thinking things about yourself like, why did I do this? How could I? Whatever. But you realize and then you think again, and that's the way to loving yourself. That was it for this episode. If you liked it, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. Comment down below. I read all of my comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.